Hello out there. My name is Muata Greene, your Asbury Park weather guy. I know you haven't seen me in a while since we talked about the hurricane season here in the Northern Hemisphere up in the Jersey Shore, which didn't happen that much. We had no major hurricanes this year coming up the Jersey Shore. In fact, as people know now, we're in a drought for the last couple of months. So now we're moving into the winter solstice, which starts December 21st, which we say in the Northern Hemisphere, and it's the so-called shortest day of the year. After the 21st, if you look at it, if you really count and look at time like I do, the days will start getting longer minute by minute until we get to the summer with its longest day of the year, June 21st. But now we're into winter solstice, the shortest day of the year. And I'm going to talk about winter solstice because winter solstice takes place in the Northern Hemisphere, which we live in. And the Northern Hemisphere is that green area, as you see on your TV screen here. As you see, it's all mostly open, all North America here, Canada, Mexico, the United States. And then it's the tip of South America, half of Africa, and most of Europe and Asia. That's the Northern Hemisphere. And that green area, they're experiencing the winter in various forms based on where you are. Some places where it's winter, it's a lot of rain. Other places further up north, the closer we get up to the North Pole, Antarctic, it's snow and other things. But then the gray area, that small gray area, is where it's summer now. So if you go to those areas down there, you'll be in the summertime. And like, you know, we're talking about, like I said, winter 21st. And let's move it down a little bit and look at here. It comes in, the exact time is 4:20 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's what that means. So set your clocks for all you weather geeks out there, if anybody's like me. 4:20 a.m. in the morning, Eastern Standard Time. Now let's look at how long is winter. Because there is timing. When you deal with astrology, meteorology, there's timing, and it's deal with the orbit of the Earth and the time and all like that, how short the days are based on the orbit of the Earth around the sun. So that determines the amount of daylight we get and all that. The sun is always there, but because the orbit is different parts of the Earth is facing the sun, it comes out, it looks different. In the Northern Hemisphere, it's 89 days. And in the Southern Hemisphere, as you can see, it's 93.6 days. So the same Earth, but based on the hemisphere, based on the angle of the Earth to the sun, you get the length of how long, how many days it is. And because we're up in the Northern Hemisphere, we're like, that's what, almost 4 days difference between the winter in the Northern Hemisphere where we are, as opposed to winter in the Southern Hemisphere. Now we're gonna talk about global temperature. And that's very key, because if you notice, we say it's cold, but when we talk about cold and warm, we talk about globally. We're not talking about just locally where we are, because where we are can change. Whether up, say we're down here at the Jersey Shore, it can be like 4 to 5 degrees cooler down here at the Jersey Shore than it is up north, say in New York and going further up. But the global temperature, and that's what NASA measures based on our satellites up there, the global temperature for November, and it's warm up this year, warmer than last year. It's becoming one of the warmest. And for people that don't know, C is centigrade and F is Fahrenheit. Fahrenheit, what we're used to here in the Western Hemisphere in America. Other parts of the world we use centigrade, because centigrade is said to be a more exact figure in measuring temperature. Now we go look at the slides here. Let's look at the global temperature. And see, look at the Northern Hemisphere seems to be warming up quite a bit. Look at this here. The red is the warmest part. And look at this. And we're talking about up north, even above North America and above, you know, Asia and northern, you know, parts of Europe and stuff like that. And that's why we say the Antarctic is melting, because the temperature is rising faster up at the top of the Earth where the ice is. And that's why we're losing more and more ice every year. So global warming is a real phenomenon, and it's happening more and more as time. So that's why this last year, November 24th was the second hottest November in NASA's temperature record. But NASA hasn't been around forever. We're talking about going back further than when NASA was. This is the warmest. But according to NASA, which is a much more scientific way because of the satellites they have up there, last month, like I said, it was 1.31 degrees centigrade, you know, opposed to 2.36 Fahrenheit. And this is what's going on with the global temperature. So globally, it's really warming up. And see what the next one says. And these, look at this. You see? From 1880, when they first started doing it, and look at it now. You see the peaks? And look at it now. It's only the 2000. From 1880, when they first started doing measurements of temperature to where we are now. And I know in my lifetime, and I'm not a young guy, I've seen a difference, but now that's just a bigger difference. So I don't know where we're heading with this, but it's not getting any better. Now, this is what I'm talking about, the Arctic surface temperature. See, it deals with the Arctic. Now look at this, you can see more realistically, see? This is Alaska up here, you know, Greenland. All this area is warming up. This is where the ice sheet was. As I say was because it's becoming less and less. And it's a real concern. Having a planet without ice is going to have a whole more reflection on the heat. Because remember, ice and snow tends to reflect the light and heat back into the atmosphere. If we have nothing to reflect it, it just absorbs it. That's why they say the oceans are warming up. That's why we're having more storms and everything, especially on the Pacific coast. Atlantic coast is heating up too, but because of our winds that travel from west to east, it kind of changes a little bit. But that's why the oceans are constantly heating up, because of the Arctic temperatures. When we're talking about, like I say, the climate warming up and how it affects our temperature, affects our rainfall. And we're looking at a map here in the United States. To other people in America, but there's actually the United States. America, it's got North America, Canada, United States, Mexico. That's America. The country itself is the United States. And we're talking about Pacific United States because that's where we are, that's where we're broadcasting. In fact, we're over here on the Jersey Shore. And you think about from October, with the temperature compared to normal, how it was much hotter. And then look down here, the 2024 October, rain or snow compared to normal. Look at this. That's why we having the drought that we have, and we are still in, by the way, even though in the last few weeks we're getting rain, but it doesn't really measure. In fact, the rain we had in the last week or so, it was only an inch of rain. That's nothing. And then it cools down. When it cools down, remember, cooling, wind, evaporation. And that's why we still have this shortage of rain where we should be, amount of water. And because we have very dry, no snow winters, especially in the last 3 years, which we'll talk about in a little later, that's why we're still having this drought condition we're having now. So now I want to just bring this together, because I know people are asking, well, how the winter's going to be? I'm going to be able to walk in my shorts in January, or I'm going to go skiing or whatever. Well, right now, the winter outlook is warmer and drier in the south and wetter in the north. So that means it's going to be warmer in the southern part of the country, but drier up north here where we have the drought that's still going on. And remember, if you don't get no significant snow this winter, the drought will continue next spring, because snow absorbs into the ground, takes longer, it stays on the ground longer, and as it melts, it absorbs into the ground, and it lasts there. Where rain comes in and evaporates real fast, you have a wind come through, the snow stays there, and that's why the more snow we have, the better our reservoirs are, less chance of having drought come the spring and summer. So right now, it doesn't look much better here. It's wetter in the north, but what kind of precipitation we're talking about? Talking about rain or snow? That look like it's going to be probably more rain than snow, especially up here in the northeast, unless you're further up, where you're further up near the Canadian border. But right now, this is what it looks like, you know, so it's not going to be necessarily a harsh winter, as we say. It might be wet, but we don't look, forecast right now is not for snow or any type of major storms coming up. But if they do coming up, I, as your Asbury Park weather guy and storm chaser, if we get a blizzard, I'm going to be out there on the boardwalk filming it, so you get firsthand what it looks like, and it'll give you a firsthand account of what's going on. Once again, I hope the information I give you has been informing and enlightening, get you more interested in the weather. Remember, environment and weather affects us as species on this planet. We can't separate ourselves from that. So the more you know about what's going on, the more you can prepare for it, the more you can, keep yourself from getting sick, and prepare and be able to survive it. So look forward to your comments. Asbury Park weather guy at APTV. Take care.